Hello, everybody. It's a Wednesday, and as usual, we have a great day, and it's our Modern Investing Show, which starts about half an hour later because of absence of internet in our apartment complex, but it's been dealt with, and now we are all ready to roll. So let's welcome to the show Dr. Milan Sombarak. Welcome. Great to have you, as always.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. And Jim Eid from Eid Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Great to be here as always.
Yes, my pleasure. And it's glorious Wednesday today, indeed. Finally, I think NVIDIA started its advance, long-awaited, and it's what's interesting about, if you look at the chart of NVIDIA, they had resistance at 150, which it couldn't cross, except one day, the intraday, it was 152, but it never closed above 150. But support, they were, for last several months, it was ranging from, say, $100-some, and then it was 115, then it was 125, then 135, 138, and finally it's crashing today easiest through 143, 144, and if it will close above 142 today from technical perspective, it's an advance to 160, 170 is a matter of maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a few weeks, no longer than that, because now it will crash through resistance, and there is no more, no further resistance is available until 175, maybe even 200.
Wow!
So that's what we are looking at, and many other stocks are performing quite well. I think I mentioned that I'm involved in NVDY. It's a dividend playing strategy of selling covered calls. And today they declared the dividends, which they're paying every 4 weeks. So this is an incredible instrument. And the dividend is for this 4 weeks will be $1.22.5. $1.22. So think about it. The stock is $26 approximately, and it's paying $1.22 every 4 weeks. So it will be 13 payments. So if you multiply it, you basically in a slightly over a year, say year and 4 months, you get all your investments money back and continue to get dividends.
And still own the stock, yeah.
Yeah, I've never, you know what, to me, it's becoming a serious alternative to NVIDIA itself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are no dividends. No, there are some very little dividends that they started to pay a few months ago. And it's, I wouldn't call it a struggle for the last few months, but you might as well do something else instead of holding NVIDIA for the last 5-6 months. It's quite, after May, pretty good earnings, and all their earnings are very good, one better than another. But still, the stock hasn't done much in the last 5-6 months. It's still there. The company is still there, performing very well. Sales, the revenue, everything is intact. But stock wouldn't reflect it at all. Maybe the reason is that the stock ran a little bit ahead of itself, starting in February. And that was, I was in Aruba at the time, and it was interesting that they reported great earnings. And I was on the beach, and I was following on the phone how the stock is doing after market. As soon as they announced the results, stock dropped, probably $10, went down. I was quite surprised. Why would it? But 5 minutes later, it was already up $20.
Yeah.
I'm talking about before the split, so of course.
Yeah.
It's slightly somewhat different.
The expectations were higher than the report, and that's the funny part about it. Yeah,
it is. And interestingly enough, that now that on December 20th, I have my 150 puts on NVIDIA expiring, and I have a lot of puts that I sold. And on the day of expiration, I will be on Aruba again. So I will be watching from there what's happening with these puts. And, for me, I figured out that my ideal situation would be if NVIDIA that day will close $149.50. So in this case, I will keep almost all premium, and I will be assigned and get the shares as well. Because it will be 150 and over, I will keep all my premiums, but I will have no more shares. So 149.50, this is my ideal number. 145 will do as well. But I don't think that I will be that lucky based on today's action. And by the way, Jim, I noticed that stocks that you were mentioning lately, something basically Micron Technologies and Marvell Technologies.
Marvell, yes.
They're all very well today. Yeah.
It popped. It's up $22 now. They reported earnings, and although the expectations were high, the results were higher. So people are getting on board, and I've also read about it now, which is one of the things I was happy about, was that no one was talking about it. Now people are talking about it, and but we talked about it a long time ago when it was up around 75. I said, that was kind of my target, and I was wondering what I should do. I was thinking about holding it, and you said buy more.
That's what I did with NVIDIA. When I was making new highs, I was buying more. Well, you see, this is
$15 from that point. Yeah.
This is essentially, it's kind of a pyramid system. What's happening is when you say you bought stock at $50, it goes up to 100. Now your margin is going crazy. I mean, it will allow you to buy twice, 3 times as many shares.
Right.
So what you do, instead of cashing out, you're just buying more and more. Your average price is becoming still much lower than where the stock is trading now, but you have twice or 3 times as many shares. So if it will continue to go higher, then you will go. And remember, I read this from Market Wizards that studies show, I think it was Dreyfus Mutual Fund, then when analyzed all his purchases, they were done when the stock was making new highs.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So,
I know Milan's not going to agree, but I looked at this company, and I looked at the sector, and I looked at what the best companies in the sector were, the best positions, and ones already generating a lot of revenue. And this stock popped up and stood out to me. And also, I like the fact that no one was paying attention to it. So MRVL is the ticker tape, and it is done extraordinarily well, and it's still well positioned, and its revenues are going to go up. No one has a crystal ball, but there's no reason not to expect its revenues to continue to climb. But we're going to run up against, now the expectations are higher. And so even though you report really good earnings, they may not meet expectations, and the stock might not continue to set record highs. But the pop today was very satisfying for me.
Yeah, of course, there's no doubt about that. What I like about NVIDIA, one thing is that maybe the stock ran a few months ago ahead of itself. Maybe they were waiting whether the future earnings will confirm the so high stock price. And you know what? It does every time. So now when they're saying that all this is Blackwell cheap, and I read today a very interesting article about Intel and its misfortunes and so on, and they were mentioning all kind of chips and what was their speed or so on. The Blackwell chip, it has enormous speed 220 times faster than its nearest competitors.
Yeah.
And if they are sold for the next 12 months, I'm wondering
They
how.
can't produce it fast enough. The demand is so high. All right.
Yeah, and it
Or
will be
Intel, you know.
same for 25, 26, and 27. And by that time, they already have a new chips that they're going to announce in next
Right.
probably quarter or two. But anyway, it's all kind of a dream territory. Okay, let's go down to Earth. Okay, Milan, please tell us what's happening in the real world, how people are making
I don't know where to
6,
start.
7% a year and are very, very happy with that.
I don't know where to start. You said so many things that make me think. So let me start.
I know where to start. Number one, it's a saving. Without savings, you cannot make any investments.
Yeah,
Right?
therefore,
Okay.
there's what we call rules-based investing and judgment-based investing.
Yes.
Rules are always right. Judgment is wrong every once in a while. So let me start out by saying something. Who said butter makes it better? What's that got to do with investing? Well, the reason I mention that is I was walking my dog through the bush miles from any civilization, and I picked up my phone and I say, Siri, who said butter makes it better? And Siri says, Julia Child. I'm able to get that information, all the knowledge of mankind available to all mankind 24/7 from any place where you have an internet connection, which is pretty well anywhere. So yesterday, my wife and I were going to Toronto, which is about 2 hours away. My wife was driving, and I used my tablet to do my covered call selling on my tablet. One of my colleagues did the same using his smartphone. So that's possible today. So that is really, we've never lived at a better time. So that's wonderful. So, we recommend against picking stocks. Buying the American economy as a whole has worked for over 100 years. Here's a question for you too. We agree that empires have 100% failure rate. That being the case, can we say that if you stay in business long enough, ultimately you'll go bankrupt? Probably. Or be absorbed by another company.
Yeah, good possibility, sure.
Now, market wizards. You were talking about market wizards. Every once in a while, we'll pick up a book and open it at random anywhere. So suppose you pick up Market Wizards and open it at a location where one of the wizards gets his ideas while he's sleeping. He's dreaming. Hello, he's dreaming. Would you continue reading such a book? Yeah. So the idea is buy the American economy as a whole. That's a simple thing to do. We can teach that to a high school student. It's a safe thing to do. It's been the best returns for over 100 years, and unless you get into cherry picking. And we recommend that people continue doing that and don't pick stocks because you will be wrong much of the time. As far as dividends are concerned, you're very interested in dividends, Sasha, and so are most investors. But there's a group of what are called dividend aristocrats, and these are stocks which have been paying an increasing dividend every year for more than 20 years. Increasing dividend every year for more than 20 years. And there are about half a dozen of them. Not many, of course. It's very unusual to be there. But if you have a portfolio made up of dividend aristocrats, you would not have done as well as buying SPY, which is an exchange-traded fund which tracks the American economy as a whole. You would not have done as well. And following SPY is something I can teach a high school student in less than 5 minutes. Picking stocks which pay dividends takes know-how. You have to understand financial statements, which most people don't, myself included. So doing well in the market is easy. Wall Street wants us to think that what they do is brain surgery, and it is not. Owning the American economy as a whole does not take a lot of brains.
And as you were saying, Milan, it used to be impossible to invest in the economy as a whole. We used to say that the widow and orphans funds invest in these big dividend-paying companies.
Yeah.
One of the favorites was AT&T and things like that, things that weren't going to go bankrupt and we're going to pay a healthy dividend. And that was the way to be safe.
Yeah.
But the way that you're recommending is another way that is newest. It's much more modern than the old way of protecting widows and orphans. And its track record is, as you say, quite long-standing and profitable. So if safety is and preservation of capital should be one of the things that we all care about.
Yeah.
And
you're right. I had a patient, a widow, very wealthy widow, who just cashed in her dividend check. She didn't know anything about the market. Her husband left her wealthy. She didn't care whether the market went up and down, just so long as her dividend checks kept coming in, which is what she was living from. And they were very substantial. And she didn't care which direction the market went or the stock went. And many widows could be like that and live very nicely.
Sure.
If the amount involved is large enough, sure. Yeah.
I must confess that I cannot compete with widows, and they're probably much more prudent investors. And Milan, when you're talking about the dividend stocks and the aristocrats' dividends and so on, I'm talking about completely different dividends. No, the aristocrats are staying well behind, and there's no comparison what we extract from the so-called aristocrats to what I'm doing with NVDY. And not only, I was paid a couple of days ago by Tesla, the same TSLY, same ETF, specializing in covered call writing. And it's even better paid because you see, at least NVDY is worth about $26 a share. The TSLY is trading around $15 a share, and it paid about the same dividend, $1.22.
Yes, but does Elon Musk make money off of that?
No, it's Jim. Think about it. It's an ETF. It's completely separate company from Tesla. They have nothing to do with Tesla.
Then I'm interested in buying it. Yes,
they don't even own Tesla stock. They don't. They have U.S. Treasury bills. They have all kind of facilities. Now, how it works? Let me explain to you. Let's say they paid yesterday dividends. So now they still have all these instruments like U.S. Treasury bills and T-bills and so on. They have no cash because all cash they use to pay dividends and get their management fee, which is 1%. So starts new 4 weeks period. Now they are selling covered calls, say next month, next 2 months, maybe even next week. I'm not sure which strategies they're using, although there are ways to find out about it, but I don't care.
What's their underlying security in the covered calls?
Treasury bills, treasuries, all the U.S. Treasury instruments, so on. Now, when they start selling, the ETF accumulates cash, because when you sell covered calls, you are being paid cash, and cash keep accumulating. Some calls expiring worthless, most of them. Some calls you are roll over into the next month's calls or so. So you are always ahead of the game. I know myself, being involved in options, I know more or less how it works. So on the second week, they have more cash. On third week, even more. On fourth week, even more cash. So the maximum cash they have right a day before reporting, they have a maximum cash being accumulated. There is a cutoff date. For example, with NVIDIA, today was announcement. Tomorrow is cutting off date, ex-dividends date, so-called, and Friday is a payment date. So same as like with Tesla. We went through reporting day and ex-dividend day and so on, and Friday was payment day. Now, because of the long holiday the last week, Thanksgiving, so we were paid 1 day later. We were paid on Monday instead of Friday. Okay. And so once they're paid, all cash is gone. The company has no more cash. It's all being paid as dividends, as management fee. It's gone. So now starts a new 4 weeks period. And again, they're starting accumulating cash week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Payment done. New process. So this is a very interesting, a very innovative way of paying dividends. It's every 4 weeks. So there are 13 payments a year, not 12, but 13.
Yeah.
Which
Interestingly, Sasha, interestingly, in order to write covered calls, you have to own the underlying security. And
not necessarily. No, you can own cash.
well,
When you sell cash covered puts, you can sell cash covered calls.
that's true. We're talking about selling calls on SPY. If you happen to hold it at the right time, you will collect the dividend that it pays. So that's an additional bonus. Yeah. No, maybe, for sure.
But the dividends are minuscule on SPY.
Compared to the premium income that you get, you're right. They're minuscule, but they're there. Yeah.
I mean, Nvidia pays dividends, but it's.
I was talking to an endodontist friend of mine who is just retired, and he's done well as an endodontist, and he has a lot of money, and so he was selling cash covered puts today, and he made more money in the first 10 minutes after the market opened than he ever did in a whole week of working as an endodontist.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally can imagine that. It's
and all of these things we're talking about, these ETFs, they didn't exist not too far in the past. They didn't exist. So you didn't have these opportunities.
Yes.
And these opportunities are there for the taking, in my opinion. But you stick to what you know, and if you don't know anything about it, learn. There are people that will teach you how to do this.
This business of being able to sell a security or ETF first thing in the morning when the market opens, expiry date, same day at the end of the day. That's only been possible recently. Right. And you can do that every day the market is open and make more money than you ever did practicing whatever profession you were in, and spend the rest of your day doing whatever you like to do. And now a lot of people like trading the market, and so they do it in individual stocks, and doing that in a fund portfolio, and I put fund in quotations, is okay if you like doing it and spend all your time. 3 things about a fund portfolio that I keep saying. 1 is no one needs one. 2 is it should be sufficiently small that if you lose it all, you won't change your lifestyle. And the 3rd is don't keep records because you're sure to be disappointed. They will not do as well as the market itself.
Milan, I understand that you're not talking to me, obviously. You're talking to some audience, wherever it is, and I'm not part of that audience, right?
You are a star, like your name. You are Mozart in investing. Most people aren't.
Let me ask you this. When you are selling the covered calls same-day expiration on SPY, are you doing that in fund portfolio or in your core portfolio, or both?
Oh, no, core portfolio. Absolutely. In your core portfolio, you need to do safe things. This is a very safe thing to do. And when you're selling derivatives, you get the biggest percentage income the closer the expiry date is to the day that you sell. Nothing can be closer than selling in the morning and expiring at the end of the same day.
But again, are you doing the strategy in your core portfolio?
Core portfolio,
in core portfolio, not in fund portfolio, because you don't have fund.
Yeah, I make sure I have enough cash to maintain my lifestyle. And if I plan a trip or buy a car or whatever it is, there's enough cash for that. But outside of that, in my core portfolio, I sell covered calls first thing in the morning, expiry date, end of the day. In Canada, we need to have a special portfolio for that because we're not allowed to do that in tax advantage portfolios. So, and then sell cash covered calls, puts, and I'm doing really very well. And that's in your core portfolio, you must do something that is safe. This is about as safe as it gets. The only way that it will fail is when the American empire fails. And empires have 100% failure rate. And the failure of the American empire is nowhere in sight anywhere.
Well, in November, the chances went up. I'm not sure what's going to happen to the economy next year. But
Emil,
anyway,
I would
discussion.
understand that I understand that part of your core portfolio is in not tax advantageous account because that will not allow you to sell cash covered puts, right?
That's right. Yeah, in Canada. In the United States, they can't sell.
So then how you can pursue your strategy if a very important part of it is not available?
In a margin account. You need to have to do this in Canada, you need a margin account. So I have a margin account where I can do both sell puts and calls, which in Canada you cannot do in tax advantaged accounts the way that Americans can. And I wrote
did you have to transfer all your core portfolio from tax advantages account to a margin account, a way to make available your strategy to pursue?
That would cost far too much for you to take money out of any one of your tax advantage accounts to do anything with it. You have to pay a 30% tax on it.
Exactly. So that's my point. So you can do it only.
The cash has to come from another source. For instance, my wife and I have an investment property in Collingwood. Sell it. The cash then goes into our margin account.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, now it's very clear. So you're not doing the strategy with your core portfolio. You're doing that with your fund portfolio, where you have tax, when you have margin account, and you can pursue the strategy, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So in that case, there must have been a point when you purchase your SPY instrument, like shares, which allow you to do covered calls. And in case of being exercised, you're selling cash covered puts, right?
Yeah. In margin account,
In margin account.
That margin account can actually then be your core portfolio because it's so safe. It's so safe. Just make sure you have enough money to buy that automobile or take that trip or to buy groceries and pay the rent, so to speak. So have that kind of money available. In your margin account, any money that you get from the sale of a property or an inheritance or any other way, if you're still working, you can put your earnings, that 5%, 10% of your earnings, whatever you put aside to save it, you can put that in the margin account, and it's a very safe way to go. Yeah, making money in the market is not a difficult thing. Except, like I mentioned earlier, Wall Street wants us to think that it's rocket science and brain surgery, and we need them. We don't need them for advice. Certainly, we need them to execute our orders for sure. Yeah, you need them for that.
Milan, I've read tons of all kind of investment books, Market Wizards.
There are enough out there.
Yeah.
And in even one book, I've read whatever Wall Street wants us to do. That one, I'm searching for that wisdom of what Wall Street wants us to do. Where is it declared? Where can I find any reference what Wall Street wants me to do and how it relay to me their wishes? So maybe I will one day elect to do what they want me to do, but if I don't know what they want me to do, there's not much help.
I can tell you what they want you to do. They want you to be a day trader.
Exactly.
A day trader.
Yes.
They want you to trade frequently. And they want you to buy different stocks, and your holding period should be as short as possible. Warren Buffett's favorite holding period is forever. And so
it didn't work out with Apple stock for him. He had indeed a huge position, sold at 115. Apple is now almost 240. I don't understand his trading technique.
There's one company that's worth more than Apple. Do you know what that is, Sasha?
NVIDIA.
Because Apple management keeps enough cash today to buy Disney and Coca-Cola entirely.
Isn't that amazing?
Is a huge company. Disney is a huge company. Apple has enough cash to buy both of them. Yeah. Now the market is going up. They made a mistake. They're making a mistake. You shouldn't be in cash in a rising market, should you?
there's one other thing that I wanted to say to Milan, and then you're talking about judgment based and making mistakes and things like that. There was a time when the market I thought was going to collapse, and it did. So I wanted to take money out of the market and put it into safe investments.
In 1987?
This was in either the dot-com bubble burst or the housing market burst in the late 2000s. I'm forgetting why, because I'm blanking this out of my mind as best I can, but I can't entirely, because one of the safe investments that I chose to do was to buy corporate bonds, and one of the corporate bonds I bought was Lehman Brothers.
Yeah.
So that was on me. I was sure that the market was going to, come down, and I wanted to go into a safe place, and I thought it was too big to fail, and it wasn't. It failed.
Why did they not bail out Lehman Brothers like it bailed out so many other?
That I don't know. All I know is it was a painful reminder in the past that my judgment is not always 100% correct.
We talk about how mistakes are practice shots.
Yeah, and also, the instinct was correct to preserve the capital,
yeah.
But and also I spread the wealth, so it wasn't the only investment that I made, but it was one that I just thought was safe. And sometimes safety is delusion, but the strategy that you're unless the American market collapses, the strategy you're advising is as safe as you can get.
Hey, Jim, you said your judgment,
maybe it's the safest thing.
Jim, you said your judgment isn't always correct and everything, but I think that you told me a long time ago that you used to be a player back in the day. So I think your judgment in women must have been all right and everything along those lines. But maybe
2 years later, it's just the one. Yeah. Thank you for that, Mark.
No problem.
Yeah. Well, and as Milan was saying, I made some mistakes before.
I saw a very interesting show by the name The Lehman Brothers, and it's a history of three brothers who were in the middle of 19th century. They immigrated from Germany to United States and started with a very, very modest little business, and then it grew, and they all worked there. And finally, they made it to, they already owned the bank, and they did fantastically well financially. Yeah. And when it was depression time in the 30s of 20th century, there was one bank that had to be bailed out. And there was a great assembly of all the bank owners, the biggest banks at the time, and they discussed whether they should bail out this bank or not. And when it came to Lehman Brothers, they voted not to bail them out.
Yeah, I looked it up because, as I say, it was the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008, and what they did was they tried to organize people that to come to finance a reorganization rather than a bankruptcy, and the discussions just failed. So
yeah, it was the first and probably the only large bank that was allowed.
It's the largest bankruptcy filing in U.S. history.
Yeah, of course.
Just before the Depression, famous economist Fisher was a renowned and respected economist, invited to lecture all over the place. His publications were quoted by other publications. As stellar as you can get in any profession. That was Fisher, who said the market has reached a permanently high plateau. 2 days later, the market crashed, biggest crash ever. Are we looking at a similar situation today? With Fisher today, Fisher, kind of an economist, looking at where things are, say the market has reached a permanently high plateau, and will it tank?
Well, there are people out there saying just that, Milan, and they think that things are at too high a price. Everything is overpriced. And the thing that I go by is the company's revenues, their debt. Do they have a lot of debt? Makes me wary, and or do the revenues seem to be increasing, and do the prospects for the future revenues look promising, look rosy? And these are the types of things that have weathered storms in the past, and there's storms coming. There's no question. Things will not go continuously up. But
there's an indicator that my wife uses that seems to work, and that is the more trucks on the road, the better the economic prospects.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to say if you can get a tea time, the economy might not be so good.
I'd like to mention,
time is booming.
I'd like to mention to you that a lot of people, including myself several years ago, are going into trap when an investor, well-known investor, a group of investors, and they start to paint one scenario, and they support it with different metrics and facts and stories and all that stuff. And I remember what happened to me at the beginning of 1987. The market went spectacularly well in January.
Yeah.
And everybody, by the beginning of February, everybody believed that market is way overpriced. It cannot be. The correction must be any time or so on. Okay, at that time I didn't know much about the market, and I started, although I made pretty good money a year before with the penny stock company, but so it's trying to listen to what's happening and so on. And the more they were talking about that, the more I becoming to convinced that I should somehow use the situation, and the much better instrument than any others at the time I thought would be selling short OEX calls. OEX, it was 100 stocks at the time, was very popular and very liquid instrument or so on. Okay, so second week of February I started doing that, and market was going up and higher and higher and higher and higher. So I decided to average down and sold more of these calls. Market was going straight up. There was not a single down day. It was just going like a rocket straight up.
You were taking profits. What's wrong with that? Taking profits. Perfect.
I could take only losses because I was selling short OEX calls. How could it take any profits? Because the calls are going higher and higher, and I was selling them short. So I was incurring losses, and I lost, by the end of February, I lost $50,000 US, and I closed all my position. And that was a lesson for me to learn. Don't listen to anybody. This is where it starts. This is where it ends. I refuse to listen to anybody whatsoever. Never, ever.
People do what others are doing. If you have sheep, 100 sheep, let's say, in a corral, in a pen, and a gate that's open, and the sheep are now coming out through the gate, and you put a stick over there so that the sheep have to jump over the stick, and they keep jumping over the stick and jumping over the stick, and then take the stick away. They will keep jumping over this stick that no longer exists. And that's what happens with investors. They tend to do what everybody else is doing.
I've seen that over and over and over again. People pile on when the stock is going up, and they bail out when it's going down. And that's a recipe for losing in the long run. And I think doing what I did, which is to discover a stock that's not yet appreciated, in this case Marvel, and then finding that it's doing the research, finding out that it's a good company and it's positioned well, and investing in that. And then now that everybody's piling on, I'm wondering, is it time to get out?
Jim, it might be true. Yeah, it might be.
Jim and Sasha, just really quickly, there's a famous saying in America. I know Jim is very much familiar with it, and it sounds, as I'm listening to y'all, that y'all are saying that too many people in the stocks market and in investments are victims of keeping up with the Joneses, because I know that it is a very popular system where people will try to keep up with whatever the going trend is and everything like that. So is that a fair statement that too many people, even in their investment picks, are trying to keep up with the Joneses? Because that's very something popular in American society, where if your neighbor has the Porsche, then you want the Porsche. Or if your neighbor has got the pretty woman, then you want the pretty woman, and everything.
Yeah.
So it's very much a part of American society.
Cocktail hour discussions. If you can't say that you own NVIDIA or something like that, then everybody else is, then you want to own NVIDIA. You know, there is that social pressure that people feel. And I can remember it was an Asian fund that was really red hot, and everybody was, you know, it was getting a lot of publicity. And somebody asked me if they should invest in it, and I said, if you hear about it, it's too late.
Sell on news. Buy on rumor, sell on news.
Well, now with everybody being connected with internet and there is so much information that you have to be very selective what you're reading,
I agree with that.
what is the best to me. Investor Business Daily is number one. Occasionally Forbes, I can read their financial papers, but not so much as Investors Business Daily. This is definitely number one. And another good service, I know, Milan, you're a big fan of Morningstar, so I will leave it to you. Morningstar. Then Zacks Investment Advisory is pretty good because they're quite straightforward. They have all stocks are divided in 5 groups: number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you are dealing with somebody who is in the number 1 group, their returns historically are definitely better than number 5 and 4, 3, and 2 as well. So you might do well, but to me, Investors Business, because it's a number B in a group, it's good enough, but to me, I need something more than that. I need a complete analysis of a stock, of what is the relative strength, what is the accumulation distribution pattern, and so on.
Yeah, I used to read that all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense if you're picking individual stocks, which nobody should be doing. Yeah. Right? The American economy as a whole, and you don't need Investors Business Daily.
Elon, a quick question. When you're saying nobody should doing that, where did you get that wisdom? How you can justify it? Because
where did I get that wisdom? It comes from 50 years of investing experience and about 48 years of making mistakes.
So this is your okay. So this is your individual contribution to the world of investing, right?
Yeah,
it sounds like trial and error is what it sounds like to me. And everything, but
lots of errors.
Really quickly, because investment actually came up around our dinner table during Thanksgiving, because I have a cousin that's getting ready to retire from the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and he was looking into some possible businesses. He had some friends of his, I'm not sure if they're in law enforcement or not. They were even possibly looking at the whole notion of starting a cigar bar or something like that. And we know that restaurants can be fun and they can also be very difficult. But where the investment question came in, and I think we're going to lean toward this, is we have family property. So we are thinking about putting it in a trust and everything like that in order to protect it, not just for the generation that I and my cousin are part of and the generation that my parents and their, mom's the only one that's got siblings are part of and everything, but even those that are coming beyond us, like my nephews and cousins that are in the next generation. And I've even got some cousins that are like have grandkids now and everything. So there's at least 2 or 3 generations down that are in the earth and everything. So what is y'all's thoughts around trust as a form of investment?
What?
Well, the trust itself is not an investment. The trust is established so that you're not going to have various family members fighting over the money when someone dies.
It's a legal means of protecting your investment, but in itself not be an investment at all. It's not.
Right.
Well,
my wife and I have.
NVIDIA is approaching 145 as we are talking. It's 144.96, something like that. Maybe it's already.
I can remember when you thought it was going to break some number back when before it split. It was like maybe 500. You said it would go to 500 or something like that, and they scoffed at you, and it did. And yeah, and it has been one of those stocks. And I know not everyone is made to invest in individual stocks, but this one was one of those no-brainers. You know, I bought it, I held it, and then I sold it. It had gone up so much, and so then I bought it again after the split. So, you know, it's
Sasha, you asked me what my contribution to society is. So let me ask you. Let me ask all of you. What do you want to be remembered for? Sasha, how do you what do you want to be remembered for?
Actually, many things. I cannot concentrate on just one, because if you want to think about memorizing me as a musician or as an investor or as inventor or as the investor or business owner, which I was more than once, it's hard to say, because I enjoy doing everything, whatever I was doing in my life.
There it is.
smart life, wise life.
I want to be remembered as a person who enjoyed what he was doing. So that's a good one for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark,
Yeah.
how do you want to be remembered?
No, I think that's a good one that you just said. You want to be remembered for doing what you enjoyed, and if you make what's the old saying, that if you enjoy doing it, the money will follow. I know that isn't always the case in everything, but that is definitely what I hope will be the case in everything. But I definitely want to be remembered as somebody that left the world in some sense better than when I came in it. And I think everybody wants to make a contribution to the world and everything in that space. And it might even be just the way that you impact those around you. So if there is ways that I am mentoring people or mentoring people around me and everything, then that is a contribution, even if it's me just kind of like guiding their directions, whether that's around social life or whether that's around investments or whether that's around a number of ways that you can impact people's lives. And a lot of ways, even though I have never formally taught, I think Jim has, and I think even you have, Sasha, as the chess world and everything, even though I've never done that much formal teaching in the classroom, I still think of myself as being a teacher and everything. So I think that that's one of the things that I hope that I have left is teaching even some of the things I do here on Pod TV. I'll just leave it at that.
So there you are. You had time to think about what Sasha was telling us what he wants to be remembered for. And James has had even more time to think about how he wants to be remembered. So James.
Well, for me, some of the books that I've written, Chess for Dummies, Freedom, that's in the background here, they, I hope, are a lasting legacy. Chess Academy we built in Uganda, I think might be a lasting testament. But in 2022, Marquis Husu designated me as a distinguished humanitarian, and that's what I want to be remembered as. Someone who's helped others.
Hey, Milan, just really quickly, in that same line, I think, and I don't know this of either of you, I've had conversations with Jim about it to some degree, but I think everybody wants to be sure that the legacy continues, because actually here in North Carolina come from what would amount to a legacy family. And I've talked about this on some of the shows, that what my grandmother did with the first Black library in Raleigh and what my parents did with a radio station in rural North Carolina and everything. So both me and my brother are continuous in the legacy. And it is my hope, even though I don't have any kids of my own, at least not as of now, and in my early 60s probably won't and everything, but I hope that my nephews will continue that legacy, as well as my cousins that now have grandkids, that they will carry on.
That's what I thought you were going to go with, Blues Radio.
But no, the first half of your life is ruined by your parents, and the second half of your life is ruined by your children, and you don't have any children, so that puts you ahead of a lot of us.
Point taken. Just really quickly, Sasha, you're going to enjoy this and everything. One of the things that I love my mother dearly. I actually talked to her earlier today. My mom and my dad, I have a great deal of respect for. I've said that on some of our shows here on the network and everything. And all along those lines, Mom literally created one of the bigger nonprofits or foundations that dealt with the tobacco settlement money and everything. But even your parents that you love dearly can sometimes get on your nerves, to your point and everything, Milan, because at some point during Thanksgiving dinner, I think mom brought up at least 3, maybe 4 ex-girlfriends. And I'm going like, Mom, I don't know that I necessarily want to be remembering these people at this time and everything like that. Yes, they might have been with us at past Thanksgiving, but I don't know that I want to be rehashing those memories.
There are definitely things that I hope people forget about me.
Okay, gentlemen, we came to the point where we have to finish our program and keep watching the market. There's still some time left. What about hour and 45 minutes? And maybe NVIDIA will cross 145 and will get closer and closer to 150. It's a matter of time when it gets there. And now about further schedule, we will not have our program on next Wednesday. We will have rerun, and I will try to do it the following Wednesday. I will be still in the Aruba, but I will be settled, and it will be much easier for me to organize, and I will do it that way.
You can
So
do
on
it.
the 18th and everything, then I've definitely got that plan for the schedule. Sasha, just really quickly, because we are in the holiday season and everything, and this is for everybody here on the network, particularly those of you in the investment space. How many days does the market close for the Christmas holidays, which is literally only about 3 weeks away and everything? Because I know they talk about the market being constantly open, but I'm sure that they take at least a few days off for the holidays and everything. So how many days off will the market be shut down around the end of the middle to end of December?
Oh, I think it's Christmas Day. It will have short hours, probably till 1 o'clock. Then it will be most likely closed for the following. What is it? The
26th is like the 1st or something like that.
25th, I think it's.
The 25th is Christmas Day.
It's a
can't remember,
Christmas Day.
but there is a rule that law that they can't close for 4 consecutive days. So
Okay.
they'll be open like for Thanksgiving and the weekend. They're off, so they have to be open on Friday, something like that.
So Christmas Day it will be definitely a short day, and then no, Christmas evening.
That's a Wednesday, so
Yeah. So
you won't run into the weekend, so they can take a day or 2 off. But
That information is easily available. Anybody can look that up on the internet.
that's what Siri's for, right?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep it Wednesdays as our day. Because
Okay.
it's best market day. So if you will miss Wednesday or 2 because of the holidays, that's okay. It's no big. All right. Okay. In this case,
Aruba.
yeah.
I'm a little jealous.
No way.
We all are. I'm
Bye-bye.
trying to figure out how to hide in that Aruba suitcase of Sasha so I can go into Aruba as well. So I'm trying to figure out how we can all go there. So Jeff, you got to figure out a plan for us to raid his
I think I
vacation.
should convince my wife to go to Aruba. Yeah.
There is no second guessing about weather. That's why we are going always to Aruba, because it's a guaranteed 100%. Okay. Other places, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not so lucky. When you invest your time, your money, and you want the best of the best, including weather, and that's Aruba.
All right.
Okay.
Certainly isn't Canada.
Yeah. Okay.
Next time. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye, everybody. See you soon.